I've got an awesome meal plan for you today. I made 3 full dinners for my family of 4 for under $35, and I'm going to share them all with you today, as well as the grocery haul. And these are dinners and actually kind of like one breakfast that you could also use as a dinner that I make all the time. So the first one is an easy instant pot jambalaya. I love this. My whole family loves it. I make it all the time. It's not traditional jambalaya, but it's really delicious and super easy to make in the Instant Pot. We're also going to make chicken fried rice, which is one of my kids and my whole family's favorites. It's also super easy to prep that for meal prep if you want to. It makes great lunches. It's very reheatable. And then I'm making an Amish breakfast casserole with hash browns and cottage cheese and sausage and Swiss cheese and cheddar cheese and eggs. Really, really good. And it also reheats great if you want to make it for breakfast meal prep. So let's get into the grocery haul first. Here are all of the ingredients that I got from Walmart for just under $35. And again, this is going to make us 3 full breakfast, lunches / dinners for the week. So I got a dozen eggs. Part of this is going to be for chicken fried rice, and part of it is going to be for an Amish breakfast casserole I'm making. I got some chicken breasts. We're going to use a couple of these for the Instant Pot Jambalaya and one for the chicken fried rice. I also got some cheese for the breakfast casserole. I would have gotten a block of Swiss cheese because it's easier to shred, but it was too expensive for the budget I was going for. So some sliced Swiss cheese, 1 8-ounce block of extra sharp cheddar that we're going to use in the casserole. I got a 1-pound bag of long grain rice. We're going to use part of this for the jambalaya, part of it for the fried rice. A bag of frozen peas and carrots, a bag of shredded hash browns. We're going to thaw these out and use them in the breakfast casserole. 1 package of andouille smoked sausage for the jambalaya, 2 green bell peppers, 1 large onion, 1 bulb of garlic, some ginger, some green onions. I also got a package of the brown and serve sausage that we're going to use in the breakfast casserole, 2 cans of fire roasted diced tomatoes. The Great Value brand is cheaper if you can find that, but my Walmart was out of those. And then some cottage cheese, which we're not going to use this whole thing for the breakfast casserole, so you can have the rest on the side with your jambalaya if you would like. So, basically the key to making a number of meals off of a limited budget and a limited number of ingredients is that you want to pick ingredients that you can share across multiple meals. So there's really hardly any of these ingredients that I just walked you through that are just for one recipe, except for probably the cheese and the sausage and the potatoes, but most of the rest of them we're going to use across multiple recipes, and that's the kind of thing I think about when I'm planning a menu like this. If you want the complete grocery list and all of the recipes in one handy dandy printable, I will have that linked in the description box below. All right, I'm going to wash my veggies. So I've got my green onions in there. I just cut them, separated the white part or the light part from the green part. And we'll wash our peppers also. I'm gonna go ahead and cut up my chicken for the Instant Pot Jambalaya and the chicken fried rice. So we're gonna use a little bit more for the jambalaya. So I've got a bigger container here. I'm gonna go ahead and prep the ingredients now on the weekend when I have time, so it's super easy to put together during the week. And then for the chicken fried rice, I wanna cut that a bit smaller, so I'm gonna use this container. So I cut up my chicken larger for the jambalaya and then smaller for the chicken fried rice. And then I also wanted to get a head start on some veggie chopping as well. This is what I try to do to make dinner easy during the week. I don't like to prep full meals. I just like to prep like the components of meals so that when I go to cook them during the week, it makes it a lot easier. And if you're interested in me doing this for you, that's actually what I'm doing over on Substack. So I just updated my recipe vault over there, and there are many weeks and tons of recipes archived. It is a paid feature of my Substack, but I am running a special this week because it's my birthday month. It's my birthday sub special. So you can get 40% off an annual plan. And I'll also have that link down below if you're interested in joining our community over there. Onions are also another great item that you can chop or dice ahead of time. And so I'm going to go ahead and get that done on the weekend as well. And then for this jambalaya recipe, I did not include it in the grocery haul because it didn't fit in with the budget, but you can add celery to it. And I had some in my fridge, so I went ahead and chopped some of that up as well. Mincing or chopping garlic is another thing you can do ahead, or if you prefer, you can just get pre-minced garlic from the store and keep it in your fridge. Rice, I always cook my rice ahead of time because it reheats great and it's such a time saver. I love to use my Instant Pot rice cooker. I always talk about this. I know you're probably tired of hearing me talk about it, but I love it so much. It's the best rice cooker that I've ever had. So I'll link it down below. It's on sale on Amazon sometimes, and it's a great tool to have in your arsenal. Okay, so this recipe that I'm going to share with you is an easy Instant Pot jambalaya. It is not, I do not believe, an authentic jambalaya recipe. However, it's really delicious. I make it all the time and my whole family loves it. The reason why I kind of like it is because it's a little bit soupy. It's like a brothy mixture, and then you can put rice and green onions on the top, and it's just so flavorful. It's also great with leftovers. So what I have here is my Instant Pot. This is a 6-quart Instant Pot. I actually have 2 Instant Pots. I have a 6-quart and an 8-quart. Typically the 6-quart one is what I use most of the time, which is just fine for a family of 4. The 8-quart is better if you're making like large batches of stock and things like that. So I have this, like I said, on saute mode. I put a couple tablespoons of oil in the bottom, and then here I have my 2 green peppers and my large yellow onion chopped up. So I'm gonna add these in here. And then I already pre-chopped up my celery and some garlic. I don't always put garlic in this because I think it's flavorful enough without it, but I had some extra from the ingredients that I bought this week. Now, I didn't have celery on the grocery list. I like to add it into here. You don't have to, it's gonna be fine without it, but I always keep celery in my fridge for different dishes, and my kids like to snack on it. So I went ahead and added that. The other cool thing about this recipe is that you can actually make it into a freezer meal, and it tastes exactly the same, meaning you can take all of the ingredients and dump them into a freezer bag and either refrigerate it or freeze it. And then all you have to do when you're gonna cook it is just dump it into the Instant Pot and make it. I'm not doing that today, but that is an option if you want to make dinner super, super easy. I do like to salt my veggies so it brings out some of the water as they're sauteing. I'm going to go ahead and stir this around and saute it until the veggies become just a little bit soft, and then we'll add our meat. I already mentioned that I chopped up about 1.5 pounds 1 to 1.5 pounds of chicken breast into like 1-inch pieces. The thing, especially too, like with this chicken breast, is this is unseasoned. So when we add this, we will add some seasoning to it. And then I just took the andouille and sliced it up into thin slices. So we'll add that as well. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and add our chicken breast. And then I'm just gonna season that with a bit of salt, pepper, and then we'll go ahead and add our spices. So in here, I've got some oregano, some Cajun seasoning, and some thyme. Okay, next we're gonna add our sliced sausage. This smells so good already. You can really smell the herbs and the Cajun spices in there. And the sausage in and of itself is very flavorful. So, you know, kind of as this cooks with the broth and the tomatoes, it's gonna also flavor the chicken and the veggies and the whole sauce. Okay, let's add the rest of the ingredients. So I've got 1 cup of chicken broth. I use the Knorr chicken bouillon. Just keep the powder in my spice cabinet. It works great. And then 2 cans of the fire roasted diced tomatoes. I do think it's really important to get the fire roasted ones for this dish. So if you can find those, definitely do that. And then you just want to make sure this is stirred well so that all of the ingredients are distributed. Okay, so we'll turn off the saute function. And then lock the lid. And then this is gonna cook on high pressure for 7 minutes. Okay, so this is done cooking. I'm gonna go ahead and let off the rest of the pressure. Just make sure that you don't have it under your cabinet or it will steam your cabinets. Here is our jambalaya. I'm gonna give it a stir. And then I'm gonna turn it back on saute because I found some shrimp in my freezer that I wanted to use up. And so I want these to cook in the broth, but I didn't want to put them in when I started it because obviously they would have way overcooked. Obviously the shrimp are optional. You don't have to add that, but if you have some hanging out in your freezer like I did, go ahead and throw those in there. I'm just gonna let this simmer until the shrimp are cooked through, and then we'll give the broth a taste and see if it needs anything. Okay, so the flavor in this is really good, almost perfect, very spicy. It doesn't need any more salt. To balance out the saltiness and the spiciness, I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of sugar, a little less than a tablespoon, totally optional. So the reason why I love this non-traditional Instant Pot Jambalaya so much is because it's really brothy. And so what I like to do is serve it in a shallow bowl, and then I put a scoop of rice on top and some sliced green onions. Promise me you will make this. It is so good, I promise. Next up, we're gonna make chicken fried rice. This is one of my kids' favorites. It's also something that I frequently meal prep for them when I go on travel for work because it reheats so well and it's just flavorful. Everyone loves it. So we're going to use the ginger for this, and what I'm doing is just peeling off some of that skin and then grating it. I like to use ginger in my fried rice. You definitely don't have to, but I think it makes it a lot more flavorful. So about a tablespoon or so of that. And then I'm also going to mince up some garlic cloves as well, 2 to 3 of those. I went ahead and did this as I was making the fried rice, but obviously this is something you could do ahead of time if you wanted to. And then you want to mince the white parts of some green onions. Okay, so when you make fried rice, you want to kind of like prep all your ingredients ahead of time because it sautés really fast. So I have my grated ginger. I would say about 2 tablespoons of that. 4 of the whites of the green onions, 4 or 5 sliced up, 3 cloves of garlic, and then I've got my 3 eggs here and my diced chicken. So in the eggs, I'm just gonna season those with a little bit of white pepper. If you don't have white pepper, just use regular pepper, and some sesame oil and some salt. All right, so I've got my hex-clad wok. I get a lot of questions on whether the hex-clad is worth it. And yes, I think that it is. I think that it's made to last a super long time. And you can put it in the dishwasher and it functions as like both nonstick and almost like a stainless steel pan, hence why it's called hybrid. I also went ahead and pre-cooked my rice. When you're making fried rice, you want to make sure you use cold rice because otherwise it will become gummy and you won't get those nice like separate grains of rice. So I'm just gonna let this heat up before we add in our chicken. I'm also gonna add in some of the frozen peas and carrots that I got. I'm not gonna use the whole bag, and our aromatics and eggs. Okay, first thing that I'm gonna do is add my chicken. I've diced this up pretty small. I'm gonna season it with white pepper and some salt. I've got this pan over like medium-high heat. I'm gonna add a couple handfuls of the peas and carrots. Probably, I don't know, we could go ahead and do like a cup or so. A little bit more salt. Okay, I'm gonna make a space in the middle and we'll add the ginger, garlic, and whites of the green onions. Okay, we're gonna add, I don't know, I'm gonna start
cups, but let's see how much I have left. That's good. Let's say 4.5 cups. I'm gonna add just a little bit more oil. You wanna use a neutral oil, like vegetable oil or canola oil or peanut oil. Don't use olive oil in your fried rice. This is not browning as fast as I'd like, so I did crank up the heat to high. And then now is when we want to sweat off all of that liquid and get some color on the rice. So again, I just have the heat cranked up as high as possible, and we'll just continue to toss this around until we get some color on it. Okay, we're gonna season this with some MSG. If you don't want to use MSG, you don't have to, but you probably have to add more salt or other seasonings. And then I have some soy sauce. I'm just gonna pour it around the edge. And this is where you really have to continuously add and taste it, because it's going to depend on your taste and how salty you want it. Okay, I'm also going to add some sesame oil. Okay, now this is the point where you want to taste it. I'm going to adjust the seasonings. Optional, I like to add just like a touch of sugar to balance out that richness and saltiness of the soy sauce. And then the last step is just to add a handful of sliced green onions, the green parts. And that is it. Super quick, comes together so quickly and easily. It's a crowd pleaser, everybody loves it. Super cheap and delicious dinner.
So if you're making this for dinner, one quick side I would definitely recommend is either like a cucumber salad, or you could also get some dumplings from the freezer section and steam those up and serve them with some soy sauce and chili sauce also. Next up, we're going to make this really delicious, very hearty breakfast casserole. It's a recipe for Amish breakfast casserole that I've had for quite a while, and it also reheats great. So if you want to make it for breakfast meal prep, it's perfect for that as well. Okay, we're going to put together this breakfast casserole. So you can use whatever kind of breakfast meat that you want. I am using these pre-cooked brown and served sausage links. But if you wanted to use bacon or ham or brown it up, a pound of sausage, you could do that also. I'm just going to saute these up to get some of that grease out of them so I can slice them up and put them in the casserole. So I'm going to take these out of the skillet and just put them on some paper towels to drain. Okay, let's go ahead and put together this breakfast casserole. So I've got my 9 eggs that I cracked into this bowl. I'm gonna whisk those together. You can make this for dinner, or if you're like me and you want to make a head breakfast for the week, that's what I'm doing. Okay, and then we're gonna add 1.5 cups of cottage cheese. I'm gonna add some pepper and some salt. Not a ton of salt because we're putting quite a bit of cheese in here and it will be salty, but we're also gonna put potatoes. And then I'm gonna add my hash browns, shredded potatoes, which have been sitting on the counter thawing. I have found that when you make breakfast casseroles or cheesy potatoes, if you're using frozen potatoes, the casserole cooks so much better if you thaw them first. If you don't have time to thaw them on the counter, you can just stick them in the microwave for a few minutes. If there's any frozen pieces in here, I'm just gonna break those apart. And then I'm gonna add a little more pepper and salt to the potatoes.
Okay, and then I've got my about a cup of shredded / chopped Swiss cheese. And then we're gonna add most of the shredded cheddar. I'm gonna leave probably about, I don't know, 2/3 of a cup left over for the top. Okay, and then we're gonna take our sausage and I'm just going to slice these into rounds. Throw those in there. Okay, and then lastly, some sliced green onion. You can use as much or as little as you want. You can also do like part of the yellow onion that we had for this dish, but I prefer green onion rather than like a white or a yellow onion in my breakfast casserole. I'm gonna bake this in a foil pan for easy cleanup. You do wanna spray this or grease it with cooking spray. Since there's quite a bit of cheese in there, it'll stick. Add the potato egg mixture. And then just spread this out into an even layer. And then we'll just add the rest of the shredded cheese to the top. This is gonna bake for about 45 to 50 minutes. So I think what I'm going to do is just tent this with foil for the first bit of baking, just so it doesn't dry out and overcook. And this goes into a 350-degree oven. Okay, so here's what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. You do want to let it cool for probably like 5 to 10 minutes before you slice into it, but it's so family friendly and cheap and it makes a huge portion. So you're definitely gonna have leftovers. It freezes great too. So if you have more leftovers that you can't eat, you can stick it in the freezer and it will reheat great for breakfast. And one thing I wanted to mention with this is that you do want to check it. If your oven doesn't run super hot, you might have to bake it for more than the directed baking time. So I hope you guys enjoyed these recipes, and I have just one question before you leave. If you leave me a comment down below, are you one of those people who is just cooking for 1 or 2? I did a video, actually I think it was last month now, where I did a meal plan for 2 and I have another one filmed, but I'm thinking that I want to make more of that content because a lot of you comment that you're just cooking for yourself or yourself and one other person. So if that's you, let me know. I want to make more content for you all as well, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.